Shrutismritpuranam Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharya-madhyamām Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsa-chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. With the abundant blessings of our Acharya Swamiji, we are proceeding with our study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, along with understanding the commentary of Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada. We are in chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Arjuna was asking a question as to, though Bhagavan prescribed that meditation on Bhagavan should be continuous, but given the vacillation of human mind, it is difficult to have the same focus at all times. So, to enable the focus to remain at least primarily on Bhagavan, you ask this question: how should I concentrate on special, glorious manifestations of Bhagavan? If you can indicate them, that will help us to focus our mind on those, because those are everyday occurrences, and it will be easier for us to continue to focus on Bhagavan through these means. So Bhagavan started listing out primary vibhutis. We came up to shloka number 24, we are on shloka number 25 now. Maharshinam bhriguraham giramasmekam aksharam yajnanam japayajñosmi sthavaranam himalayah. There are people who are called Maharshis, who are humans. There are people who are called Rishis. Rishis are mantra drashtas, those who have seen Vedic mantras during their meditation on their mental screen. They are called Rishis. Distinguished Munis are Rishis. More distinguished Rishis are called Maharshis. They are extremely great. Out of all the Maharshis, normally, when any guest comes, we are all supposed to stand up, welcome them, ask them to sit, give them water for padhyam, for washing the feet, water for achamanam, for drinking, ask them to sit, make them comfortable, and then only we should sit. This is common Dharma Shastra for any atithi, any guest. And Bhagavan never used to deviate from this, though there is no need for him to adopt this Shastra, being Bhagavan. But since a human being has come, he should show to human beings how to follow Dharma Shastra, how not to deviate from Dharma Shastra, which normally he was doing all along. But this time, somehow, he never got up. He was he continued to be in the reclining position. And Lakshmi was at his feet. Bhrigu became very angry. He said, I have come and you are not even getting up and welcoming me. And then he kicked Vishnu on his chest. And then Vishnu got up smilingly and said, maybe he was waiting for this kind of thing to show the greatness of Bhrigu Maharshi to the world. You see, many of the Leelas of Bhagavan which we may not be able to understand. So he smilingly got up and said, my chest is very hard. Your feet are very soft, gentle. By hitting on my chest, I do not want your feet to suffer any pain. And he went and held the feet. Bhagavan held the feet of Bhrigu, inquiring whether he had suffered any pain. Will anybody do this? Any human being do that? You go and kick somebody on his chest, will he do this? He did it. Bhagavan did it. That is Bhagavan. And then he also said, the mark which you have left on my chest by your kick will remain as one of my glorious marks. That mark is called the Srivatsa. Srivatsankita Vakshasthala. Meghashyamam Peta Kausheyavasam Srivatsankita Kaustubhodbhatitangam. So that is Srivatsa. Kaustubha is a jewel which was got from Samudra Manthan. So that is the greatness of Bhrigu. He was great in all respects. Giramasmekam aksharam. Girvani is the name of Saraswati. Gir means words. She is the Devi of words. So Giram means of all the words. Giram ekam aksharam asmi. I am one letter. What is that one letter? Akara. Giram asmekam aksharam. But here, aksharanam akarosmi, he said earlier once. But here, what is ekam akshara? In this context, ekam aksharam is Omkara. Om is also a single akshara, though it is made of three letters, A, U, Ma. And we have seen in detail what those letters correspond to, what they indicate, etc. Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, etc., etc. And Paramatma is beyond the three. That is the Ardhamatra, the Bindu, which follows the three letters. We saw all this. There are a lot of passages on the glory of Omkara in Upanishads. So, if he were to choose an akshara, one letter out of all the 51 aksharas, he will choose Om. Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. Various yajnas are mentioned in Vedas, in Karma Kanda. Various. Nowadays we hear about Somayaga, Paundrika Yaga, etc., etc. In olden days, we used to hear about Ashwamedha Yaga, Rajasuya Yaga, etc., performed by kings. We don't have kings, so that has stopped. But there are other yajnas which are still being performed. Many yajnas are being performed. Now, out of all the yajnas, I am Japa Yajna, yajna of chanting. Bhagavan has earlier referred to many types of yajnas in one of the earlier chapters. Many yajnas. One of them was Japa Yajna. He considers all of them as yajnas. All of them, he gives the status of the Vedic yajnas. Because the fruit is the same. What is the fruit of Vedic yajna? If you have limited fruit, that is going to Surga. If you have a higher fruit, that is moksha. So all those fruits are available with other means, which he has listed. Many means he has listed. One of them is Japa Yajna. Why he chose Japa Yajna out of all the yajnas? Because of two reasons. Commentators have pointed out. One is, it is easy for anyone to follow. Can you organize a yajna tomorrow? No. It requires tremendous amount of preparation, tremendous amount of cooperation from so many people, and tremendous amount of money. A lot of these things are required for organizing yajna, performing yajna satisfactorily. Any yajna. Japa yajna, no dependence on anyone, no dependence on any external resource, no need for money. You need only time. You have to sit in one place and do japa. So simple as that. And Bhagavan says, I am out of all yajnas, I am this yajna. Look at the attractiveness which he is attaching to means which are available to everyone. Simple means. He wants somehow that people should become spiritual. Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, he is going to say in another sloka. So out of all the branches of knowledge, I am Adhyatma Vidya, Atma Vidya, the Vidya which will take us to Paramatma, which will take us to Atma Jnana. So he is very keen that all of us should, all the human beings, no distinction, should be able to tread this path of Adhyatma Vidya. So for that, the simplest path is Japa Yajna. So he chose that. And another thing is, in other yajnas, apart from a lot of paraphernalia, animal sacrifices involved. Other sacrifices mentioned in Vedas. Of course, nowadays, people have started substituting animal sacrifice with some vegetable, etc., etc. That is as a substitute for various reasons. But what is specified is animal sacrifice. So if you are not inclined to do animal sacrifice, because at the time of Bhagavan giving out Bhagavad Gita, perhaps this tendency had cropped up that people becoming averse to animal sacrifice, even for yajnas. So he chose Japa Yajna. That is another reason. But most important reason is that it's simple, available to everyone with no special preparation. Sthavaranam Himalaya. Sthavara means an object which does not move is called Sthavara. Sthavara Jangama. Jangama means an object which moves. Immobile objects. Out of all immobile objects, I am Himalaya. He didn't say out of all mountains I am Himalaya. He didn't say that. He said out of all immobile objects, like trees. Out of all the immobile objects created by Bhagavan, I am Himalaya. Himalaya is considered the most sacred mountain as well as most sacred sthavara. If you take trees, there are many trees. Ashwatha, Sarva Vrikshanam, Hime, I think he's going to say the next shloka. So he is going to point out such distinctions. But even compared to all that, if you were to choose one out of all sthavara objects, I will choose Himalaya. Himalayas are having a special glory of being frequented by devas. Every day devas come there for moving around, wandering here and there, taking bath in Ganga, spending time. The serene surroundings are attractive even to devas. That is the greatness of Himalayas. Not to speak about Siddha Purushas, Munis, Rishis. This is the constant place to which they go. Even today, those who want to go for meditation, etc., go for a Himalayan resort. We hear such terms. I am going to Rishikesh, I have a 10-day workshop there, etc., etc. Even today, that attraction remains. There is a beautiful shloka on the greatness of Himalaya, the very first shloka of Kumara Sambhavam of Kalidasa. He starts with describing the glory of Himalayas. There he says, Astyuttarasyam dishi devatatma Himalayo nama nagadhirajaha Purva paravo toyani devagahye Sthita prithivya iva manadandaha. This shloka is frequently quoted by our Periva in various Anugrah Bhattam, Gamata Bhat. Hasti Uttarasyam Dishi, in the northern direction of Bharatakanda, these Himalayas exist. Devatatma, it is a place of residence of Devatas, means they come frequently. Himalayo nama Nagadhirajaha, Nagadhirajaha, the king of mountains, named Himalaya. Himalaya means an abode of snow. Hima means snow. Snow climate. It is extending from the east to western. Sea means ocean. From Bay of Bengal to Arabian Sea in our present context. In olden context, maybe the geography might have been a little different. Himalayas have been extending from one ocean to another ocean, east and the west. Purva paravotoyanidhi vagasye sthita prithivya iva manadandaha. Manadandaha means measuring rod. It is as if it is a measuring rod for the entire earth. It is so huge, so extensive. In olden days, it must have been even more extensive than what it is today. Even today, it is one of the most extensive mountains. This is the glory of Himalaya. And as we all know, Parvati chose Himavan for taking birth in his household. There is an entire chapter in Devi Bhagavatam where Devi gave darshan to all the devas and Himavan was present. And she made this announcement that I will take birth in the household of Himavan because he has been doing tapas for that purpose. That is why she is known as Parvati, Parvata Rajakumari, etc. Shailaja, etc., etc. Shaila means mountain. Maharshīṇāṃ bhrivaraham girāmasmyekamakaram yajñāṇāṃ japayajñosmi stavaraṇāṃ himalayah ashvathas sarva vrikṣāṇāṃ devarshīṇāṃ ca nāradaḥ gandharvāṇāṃ chitrarathaḥ siddhāṇāṃ kapilo munihi. Ashwatha sarva vrikṣāṇāṃ. Of all the trees, I am the Ashwatha tree, the people tree. People tree or the fig tree, as they call it. That is the abode of all the devatas. Ashwatha is the abode of all the devatas. In fact, I recently circulated this, that it is the most sacred and we should worship Ashwatha. Devarshīṇāṃ ca nāradaḥ. Of all the devarshis, I am Narada. The definition of a devarshi is he is both a deva and a rishi. Rishis are generally humans, isn't it? All rishis are humans. There are a few exceptions because devas, for deva to become a rishi is extremely tough, more tough than for a human being to become a rishi. Because devas are living, their place of living is Swarga, full of pleasures. To take the mind away from pleasures and concentrate on Paramatma to this extent of tapas, focus, concentration, that requires special effort. Only some have done it. One of them is Narada. There are many Devarshis. We saw some names last time. So, he chose Narada. Narada has got a special name in all our Puranas. In fact, almost every Purana refers to some Leela of Narada associated with Bhagavan. Ever chanting Bhagavan's name, having a veena in his hand where he performs Samagana, he chants Bhagavan Namas. He has unrestricted entry to all the worlds. There is a boon he has got from Bhagavan. Wherever he wants, he can go in no time. In fact, all devas have that facility, but he has got it in a more easy measure. Wherever he goes to any royal assembly, he goes to any poor man's hut, he will be welcomed. Nobody will say, Arey, this fellow has come. No. That is the great thing of Narada. Bhagavata Uttama, that is Narada. Out of all Bhagavatas, he is the model, role model. Devaha eva santaha rishitvam praptaha mantradarshitvatke devarshaya. The rishi, by definition, is a mantradarshi, mantradrashta, having experienced Veda mantra and their meditation. Devarshi is also of the same category. On that, there is no difference. Gandharvanam Chitrarathaha. Gandharvas are a group of devas who are known for fine arts, singing, dancing, etc. Mainly singing. Chitraratha is the king of Gandharvas. If you see any celebration of Bhagavan's marriage, or Indra taking his seat, Indra becoming Indra, etc., any celebration, you will find Gandharvas are the most prominent singers at that time. In fact, there are stories. The assembly of Brahmaloka, which is not Surga. Brahmaloka is known for meditation because only such great souls live there along with Brahma. Even there, sometimes there are such sessions where Gandharvas come and sing. Gandharvanam Chitrarasaha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Out of all Siddhas, I am a Muni called Kapila. Who is a Siddha? That has been defined in Shastras this way. Janmanaiva Dharmajnana Vairagya Aishwarya Atishayam Praptanam. That is the definition of Siddha. That is, even at birth, mind you, even at birth, before making any effort, they have this special acquisition. What acquisition? Dharmajnana Vairagya Aishwarya Atishayam Praptanam. Atishayam means extraordinary. Extraordinary dharma, jnana, vairagya, aishwarya they have right at birth. That is why they are called Siddha. Siddhi means attainment. Siddha means one who has attained. One who has attained right at birth without making any human effort. Adhigata paramarthana. They have attained paramartha even at that stage. Supreme goal of Paramatma they have attained even at that stage. Now, why he chose Kapila? Kapila is actually an avatar of Vishnu. He is considered as an avatar of Vishnu, though he never proclaimed, I am Vishnu. Like some of the other avatars, we find such proclamation. Krishna himself says, I am Vishnu. But Kapila never said that. He was born as the son of Kardama Prajapati and Devahuti. There is a celebrated chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam dedicated to his Upadesha to his mother Devahuti. Kapilopadesha, Kapila Upakhan. Mainly concentrating on yoga, Kundalini yoga, etc. Yoga Shastra. He teaches Devahuti. He teaches Adhyatma Vidya. Kapilastu Bhagavad Avataraha Sankhya Tattvavakta Pushti Sarga Praneta. Commentator says, Bhagavad Avataraha, he is an avatar of Bhagavan, Sankhya Tattvavakta, that is apart from the teaching of Adhyatma Vidya to his mother Devahuti, Kapila is also credited with the forerunner of Sankhya Shastra. In chapter 2, when we came across the title of Sankhya Yoga, we mentioned this. That out of Shad Darshanas, 6 Shastras, Sankhya Yoga, Vimamsa, Vaisheshika, etc. Nyaya or Tarka Shastra. Now, all these are Shastras. There are 6 of them. Out of them, Sankhya is one. It is called Sankhya because it counts the various starting points of Maya, of Prakriti. They don't call it Maya, they call it Prakriti. And they count up to 25 tattvas. That is why it is called Sankhya Yoga. This was established by Kapila. And Sankhya Yoga is very important even for Advaita. Advaita beauty is, though it is the last of the 6 Shastras, and it negates all the other earlier 5 Shastras and calls itself as the supreme source of knowledge. Even then, Advaita Shastra never condemns or throws completely all the other 5 Shastras. In fact, they take a lot of aspects from each of the 5 Shastras. Each of the 5, that is why there is a Shastra Pathashala nowadays, and our Parima is concentrating on Shastra Pathashala because people who are well versed in Shastras have become rarer now. People study Vedas, maybe Vedangas, even that has become rare. And Veda Bhashya, even rarer. And Shastras, very few people go for study of Shastra, all the 6 Shastras. Because Advaita Shastra, if you want to go through the logic of Advaita Shastra, you need knowledge of the other 5 Shastras. Because Shankara draws upon all the other 5 Shastras when he establishes his Advaita Shastra. So Sankhya is also one of the very important Shastras which one has to master if you have to master Advaita Shastra. So in that context also, Kapila is important for us. Uchchaishravatamasvanam viddhimam amritodbhavam airavatam gajendranam naranancha naradhipam Uchchaishravasam ashvanam viddhi mam amritodbhavam. Know me, mam viddhi, know me. See, look at that. He is talking about horse, Ashwa. He is calling that horse as himself because the whole world is an expression of Bhagavan. That we have been told right from the beginning, many, many times. There is nothing without the presence of Bhagavan, we have been told. So why will the horse be exempted? Horse is also Bhagavan. So that is why he is using a special term here. Siddhanam Kapilo Muni, he stopped, he didn't say Viddhima. Here he says Viddhima, know me as that horse called Uchchaishravas, out of all the horses. Amritodbhavam, it emerged during Samudra Manthanam from the ocean, from the milk ocean. When Samudra Manthanam was performed by Devas and Asuras, with Vasuki as the turning rod, with Manthara as the turning stick, Manthara mountain. Then, finally, Amrita emerged. And before that, many objects emerged during Amrita Manthana. And one of them was a horse called Uchchaishravas. It's a very special horse, not the horses which we see on earth. Uchchaishravas is in Swargaloka, which is being used by Devendra as his vehicle. It is 7-headed winged horse. It has wings, it can fly, and it has 7 heads, not 1 head. And why it is called Uchai Shravas? Shravas means ears. It has some special tall ears. That is one meaning. Another meaning is it hears loud noises. Uchai Shravas. Loud noises. Because beyond a certain loudness, we cannot hear. Our hearing is limited between certain range, a limited range. So that range is very high for Uchai. Anyway, it's our minor details. Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Naradhipam. Out of all Gajendras, I am Airavata. Out of all Gajas, he didn't say. Out of all elephants, he didn't say. Out of all kings of elephants, Gajendras are kings. That means there have been many kings, many senior elephants known for their extraordinary capacity. Out of all those Gajendras, I am Airavata. After we know about one Gajendra, we hear about Gajendra Moksha. That Gajendra is not this Gajendra. That Gajendra, in fact, was a king in his previous birth and he became an elephant out of the curse of Agastya. So, this Airavata emerged from ocean of milk during Samudra Manthanam, like Uchai. And what is special about this elephant, like Airavata, it is unlike the elephants which we see on earth, it is a white colored elephant, brown, not brown or black, with multiple heads. They didn't even specify the number of heads. For Uchai, at least we were told it is 7-headed. For Airavatam, they say it is multiple heads. That means it can vary. Sometimes it may be 7, sometimes it may be 10, because that capacity it has. They're all divine, you know. Narana Naradhipam, out of all men means human beings, out of all human beings, I am the ruler of kings, a ruler of men, Nara Adhipam. That is a king. Out of all men, I am the king. Well, that is obvious because king is the ruler. He exercises the greatest power over all the human beings. So naturally, he will be chosen as Bhagavan's manifestation. Not only that, in olden times, kings followed Dharma Shastra to the letter. They had a Brahmana advisor in their council. Generally, Dasharatha had Vasishtha Rishi. Even Pandavas, when they even went for Vanavasa, even then they had rishis who followed them, who went along with them to the forest, Daumya, for example. So they always went by the advice given by the rishis. They never deviated from Dharma Shastra and they were regarded as possessing aspects of Vishnu, Amsha of Vishnu. This is what Shastra says about kings. King is known as Raja, as we all know. Why he is called Raja? Raja Ranjayati Prajaha. He keeps people happy. He keeps his citizens happy. That is why he is called Raja. From the root Ranji. Because he keeps everybody happy. That is the main duty of a king. That is why he is known as having an Amsha of Vishnu. Vishnu is the protector of all of us. Similarly, Raja is the protector of in the immediate neighborhood. In our country, he is the protector. And he keeps everyone happy. So great was the fame of many of the kings whom we read about in our Puranas and histories. So great that even in very tough times, when they were surrounded by very powerful enemies or by some natural disaster, a famine which lasted for 12 years, such events we keep reading in Puranas. or heavy floods. All this which we now see is not something new. It all being talked about in Purana. Even in such circumstances, the king helped the citizens to the maximum. They used to keep a lot of reserve in the palace store. All that reserve was thrown open to the citizens. All this we hear, we read about it in the Purana. They helped the citizens to the maximum. And the citizens also cooperated with the king very much. These are difficult times. We should cooperate with the king. He is working for us. This was the attitude. Yatha Raja Tatha Prajaha. That is why this shloka has come. About the king Dilipa, Kalidasa says in Raghuvamsha, that applies to, though he is giving this shloka in the context of Dilipa, it applies to all the kings in the Raghuvamsham, in the family of, in the lineage of Rama. Prajnanam vinayadhanat rakshanat bharanadapi sapita pitarastasam kevalam janma hetavaha. Sapita, the king was not a king. He was a father for all the citizens. Why? Prajanam vinayadhanat. For all the citizens, he was the role model of culture, of education. Vinaya, of course, means humility. It should be interpreted as education and culture. He had provided education and culture to all the citizens. Rakshanate Bharanadapi, by protecting them from all dangers. No danger to any citizen. Well, there is no danger, but prosperity is there. Yes, Bharanadapi, by giving them all facilities, by protecting them, by giving them all facilities, by giving them all education and culture. They were ideal citizens. So, why will he be called a king? He should be called a father, because there is a duty of a father to bring up the children in this manner. So he was like a father. Sapita, Pitaras, Tasam, Kevalam, Janma Hetavaha. Well, the citizens have their own fathers, isn't it, in their families? Everyone has got a father. What happened to them? Kevalam, Janma Hetavaha. Look at the tribute which Kalidasa pays to the king. He says, those fathers, forget about. They are only sources of birth. They only gave birth to this. Kevalam Janma Hetava. Making them ideal citizens, the king did. That is how the king, that is why Bhagavan is mentioning king as an ideal vibhuti, where we can focus. Of course, nowadays we don't have kings, so we can only focus on kings from our Puranas. Ashwatha sarva vrikshanam devarshinaam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitrarataha siddhanam kapilo munihi उच्चैश्रवतमश्वानां विद्धि मामृतोद्भवम् ऐरावतं गजेन्द्राणां नराणां च नराधिपम् आयुधानामहं वज्रं देवनूनामस्मि कामधुक् प्रजनश्चास्मि गन्धर्वः सर्पाणामस्मि वासुकिः आयुधानाम् अहं वज्रम् out of all the weapons used by kings, obviously. I am a weapon called Vajra. Vajra is a weapon used by Devendra. It is not available with anyone else. There is a story behind how this Vajra came. There are in fact many stories. There are many stories, but this story is what Bhagavan Shankara gives in his commentary. Ayudhanam asam vajram dadityasti sambhavam, he says. What is dadityasti sambhavam? That is, when an asura called Vritrasura, this story is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. When asura called Vritrasura came on the scene, he challenged Devendra he fought big battle and Indra lost the power. For Indra to regain power, he had to defeat Vritra in a battle. So how to do that without a proper weapon? Nowadays also we find that we are constantly upgrading our army resources, military resources, constantly. Air defense, this, that, fighter jet and all that, constant upgradation. So similarly, the time came when he had to upgrade his weaponry. He found that whatever weapons he had were not adequate for killing Vritrasura. He was so powerful. That was the boon he had from Brahma out of tapas, mind you. All these extraordinary capacities do not come easily. Asuras also have gone through tremendous amount of tapas, and then Brahma has given this boon. So finally, Indra took the counsel of wise people and decided that a special weapon has to be prepared for this purpose. That has to be extraordinarily tough and hard. So what he did, he was told that there is a rishi called Dadhichi, his Maharishi called Dadhichi. You go and tell him that you need his backbone. How to go and tell anybody, I need your backbone? That means you have to be killed first before I can take your backbone. Because out of extraordinary tapas, his backbone had become so strong that if you make a weapon out of that backbone, it will be extremely tough and you can use it against Vritrasura. This was the advice. But how to do this? How to go and tell him? He's a great Maharshi. In fact, Dadicha Maharshi comes in many Puranas. One of the common references to Dadichi is in Shiva Purana and Skanda Purana. In the context of Daksha Yajna. When Daksha was preparing and he was about to start his yajna without inviting Shiva, Dadicha Maharshi, along with his Shishyas, went to him. And he sat for several days, advising Daksha that he should not do this. It is very wrong. You cannot ignore Shiva. If you want to go through stories of Shiva's glory, greatness, you have to go through these passages of Dadichi's lecture to Daksha Prajapati. He went on recounting like how he managed to bring Ganga to earth. It was only due to the grace of Shiva. Like this, many, like how he consumed Kalakota poison, Halapa, etc., etc. So many such stories, which are peculiar to Shiva, which are only possible for Shiva. So, that is the greatness of Dadichi. Of course, Daksha did not listen to his advice, that is a separate story. So then Indra, along with Devas, went and prostrated at the feet of Dadichi and said, "This is what I have been told. It is very embarrassing for me to make this request to you. I do not know what I should say. But I need this weapon. Otherwise, I cannot conquer Vritrasura." Dadichi said, "The supreme tyaga, if an example has to be given for supreme sacrifice, that is Dadichi." So he said, "No issue. Why are you embarrassed?" He sat in meditation and dropped his body in no time. And then, with the help of Vishwakarma, a weapon was made out of his asti. That is what Shankara Bhagavad Pada is referring to when he says, Dadichi asti sambhavam, made out of the bones of Dadichi. There are other stories of how Vajrayuda was made and all that. It's not single story. But this is the most important story. Supreme sacrifice of Dadichi Maharishi. And that became very tough. Indra used that Vajra and conquered Vritrasura, killed Vritrasura. Dhenunam asmi kamadhuk. Kamadhuk means kamadhenu. It is called kamadhuk because it gives out whatever you have in mind as your desire. You go to Kamadhenu, you don't even have to express it in words. You just think of something which you need. Immediately that thing will materialize. That is Kamadhenu, Kamadhuk. Out of all cows, Dhenu means cow. Out of all cows, Dhenu Nam. Kamadhuk Asmi, I am Kamadhenu. The Kamadhenu also came out of Samudra Manthanam, like Airavata, etc. There is no need to elaborate on Kamadhenu. Everybody knows about Kamadhenu. Prajanashasmi Kandarpaha. Kandarpa is another name for Manmatha. In other cases, he used a group, Ayudhanam, out of a group of weapons. Dhanonam, out of a group of cows. And he picked one. Here he is not doing that. Because Manmatha cannot be compared with anyone else. He doesn't belong to a group. He is special. No comparison with Manmatha. Because he is the force behind the multiplication which happens in any race, including human race. Human race multiplies itself only because of Manmatha. So how can such a personality be compared with someone else and say, oh, he is the best out of the two? In fact, he doesn't belong to any group. He is the Manasa Putra of Vishnu. And then he has been given this extraordinary power of making people multiply. That is what he says, Prajanaha, Kandarpaha, Prajanascha, Asmi, I am Manmatha, who is responsible for the races getting multiplied. Prajanaha. Prajanayita, Kandarpaha, Asmi, that means one who helps in procreation. Sarpanam Asmi Vasukihi, out of all the snakes, serpents, I am Vasuki. Now, in the next shloka, he says, Ananta Shasma Nagan. So, the Naga is also serpent. Sarpa is also a serpent. What is the difference? Scholars have commented. Sarpa is single headed. The snakes which we see on earth, they are all single headed, one head. Whereas Naga has got many heads. Like Vasuki has got several stories associated with him. And one story which I just mentioned was he was used as a churning rod during Samudra Manthan. Anantaschasmi Naganam, out of all Nagas, multiple headed, I am Ananta. Ananta is Adishesha, he is with his 1,000 heads, Sahasra Shiras. He is carrying the weight of the earth. Since he is, in fact, a manifestation of Vishnu, he is no different from Vishnu. He is also acting as a bed for Vishnu. He is doing multiple jobs. So naturally, Bhagavan mentions him. Anantaskasminaganam Varuna Yadasam Aham. Yadas means aquatic animals. Animals in water. Out of all those animals in water, I am Varuna. He is the head of all those animals. He is the head of, he is the Devata associated with water. That is why he says, and Varuna in ancient times, in Vedic, if you see Vedic references, he was equated with Paramatma. So there are lots of stutis for Varuna in Veda. Pitrunam Aryama Chasme Yamasam Yamatamaham. Out of all the Pitris, I am Aryama. Now, who are Pitris? Now, those of our forefathers who pass away, they go to Pitraloka. And then, depending on their account of Punya and Papa, Yamadharmaraja decides where they should go. That is a normal case for everyone, all human beings. But supposing a forefather of a particular human being becomes an animal, let us say, he becomes an insect, or he becomes a deva, he can become anything. Now this man does shraddha for his forefathers. Now the shraddha, whatever pinda you offer, whatever food you offer, whatever water you offer, has to go to that Pitru who has taken the form of an animal or an insect or a deva or a human being. Suitable for him. Insect means food suitable for an insect. Animal means food suitable for that particular animal. Human being means food suitable for that human being. Deva means food suitable for that deva. So who will arrange this? You are offering ordinary rice ball and water. That has been converted into this suitable food because the Shraddha is for helping your forefathers, for remembering them, and for helping them with food and water, wherever they are. If you do this annual Shraddham for the whole year, they are satisfied. This is what Shastra says. And there are occasions when they visit you, like Mahalaya Paksham. Then you are supposed to do special Shraddha. Now, who is going to do this coordination? There are 7 devatas called Pitra Devatas. In Pitraloka, there is a loka called Pitraloka. And Bhagavan has given the position of Pitra Devatas to 7 people. And Kavyavaha, Anala, Soma, like this, there are 7. Out of them, Aryama is the most prominent. So he is choosing Aryama out of the 7. Yama Samyamatamaham. Samyamatam means one who controls, one who subdues. Out of all the controllers, out of all the subduers, I am Yama. Naturally, nobody can control, nobody can subdue as much as Yama. Yama decides the fate of the human being once the body is dropped. Yama is the one who takes away the life at the time is decided by Brahma when you are born. Yes, okay. But at that time, Yamadharmaraja sends his people, Yamadutas, and takes away your life. And then he goes through your accounts and then he decides. So he is the one who controls. He is the greatest controller. There cannot be any other controller who can be compared to him. The king himself is a controller in that sense because he goes through the accounts of the citizens. If somebody has done something extraordinarily good, he honors. We know that. If somebody has done some sin, he punishes. There are jails. All that is the duty of the king. So he is also a controller at our level. But who is the controller of controllers? Naturally, Yama. आयुधानामहं वज्रं धेनूनामस्मि कामधुक् प्रजनश्चास्मि गन्धर्पः सर्पाणामस्मि वासुकिः अनन्तश्चास्मि नागानां वरुणो यादतामहं पितॄणामर्यमा चास्मि यमः संयमतामहम् प्रह्लादश्चास्मि दैत्यानां कालः कलयतामहम् मृगाणां च मृगेन्द्रोऽहं वैनतेयश्च पक्षिणाम् Prahaladascha Daityanam Asmi. We have seen already Daityas are Asuras. There are two groups of Asuras. One group is called Daityas, another group is called Danavas. Only difference being they were born out of their mother was Diti, the other case the mother was Danu. There is no other difference. Father was Kashyapa for both the groups. They are all same having Asura Gunas. No difference. So in that Daitya family of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada was born as the son of Hiranyakashipu. We know the story of Prahlada. So there is no need to go into detail. There cannot be a comparison with other Daityas of Prahlada, naturally. Kala Kalayatamaham. Kalayata means a computer or a calculator. That is a measuring instrument. A measuring instrument used for computing or calculating. Kalayatam. Out of all the measuring instruments, I am time. Kalaha means time. How can there be any other measuring instrument comparable to time? Just to imagine. Time is the basic measuring instrument. Your span of human life on earth is decided by time. So many years, so many months, so many days, so many hours, so many minutes you will live on this earth. That is decided. So everything is a matter of time. At so and so age, you will face this hardship. At so and so age, you will be blessed with this extraordinary achievement. All this is your jataka. So, and jataka is a matter question of time only, isn't it? Everything is time. The location of planet at the time of your birth decides all the future course. So time. There is nothing like time. You see, when a lot of such stories we have gone through, when devas are troubled by asuras, every time they go to Brahma, Brahma every time takes them to Vishnu or Shiva. And then Vishnu or Shiva, what is the reply they give? In all cases, whether it is Ravana, whether it is Kamsa, whether to this earth, how long he troubled Prahlada and others? How long? How many years? So there was a time. Even Vishnu and Shiva could not come and eliminate these asuras at any time they desired. They said, well, the time will come, I will take avatara and then eliminate him. Don't worry. So till that time, you go and hide yourself in the caves of Meru mountain, because that is a place which cannot be accessed by asuras. That's the only place. So go and take refuge in the caves of Meru mountain. A constant practice. Whenever this happened, they used to go there. But how long will you live in a cave, leaving out your sarga and other normal modes of living? So they used to go and frequently press Vishnu or Shiva for help. They used to say, yes, yes, the time has not come. So time is important for everything. Kala kalamaham Indroham yascha pakshinam mriganam aham mrigendraha. Out of all animals, I am lion. Well, that is obvious because lion is known as the head of the forest king. And lion has got another great characteristic that it is the vehicle of Devi. Devi chose a lion as her vehicle. Vainateya pakshinam. Out of all birds, I am Garuda. Vainateya means Garuda. Son of Vinata. Out of many wives of Kashyapa, through whom he begot many species. So the eagle species came from Kashyapa and Vinata. And out of all the eagles, he is the greatest naturally. And that is why he is known as Vainateya, Vinata's son. There is a story of how Vinata and Kadru Kadru is the mother of all serpents. Again, Kashyapa's wife. So there was a fight between Kadru and Vinata. And finally, Garuda intervened and then helped his mother to come out of that struggle safely and successfully. I will not go into the story now. So, out of all the birds, I am Garuda. Garuda is also the vehicle of Vishnu. Garuda Vahana, Garuda Dhwaja, that is Vishnu. No bird can be compared with Garuda for power, for speed, for wisdom. Garuda is also known as the repository of all Vedas. So there cannot be any comparison of Garuda with other birds. I think we will stop with this. Prahladaschasmi daityanam kala kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainatescha pakshinam. We meet again tomorrow morning at 7, Sunday, 7 AM IST. Any questions?
Those who have questions, please turn on your video, unmute yourself and ask questions. Any questions, anybody? Raviji, go ahead.
Namaskaram. This is a hypothetical question in the sense that all rishis, maharishis are people who are overcome all their gunas. I mean, like they will overcome the anger also. In the story, what you have told, Bhrigu Maharishi being a maharishi, how can he go and kick the Bhagavan himself? Is it out of the anger what he has done? He is supposed to have overcome the anger, isn't it? As a maharishi.
Well, there is a story connected with that. I didn't want to go into the details of the story. He wanted to establish the glory of Bhagavan. Let us understand it that way. Just as Bhagavan wanted to establish the glory of Bhrigu, the way that I explained. Similarly, Bhrigu wanted to establish the glory of Vishnu. See, Bhagavan is so compassionate. He treated me this way in spite of my audacious activity. So he indulged in that activity.
So basically, it's a Leela. I mean, the Maharishi.
It's a Leela. It's not anger. In fact, no Rishi subjects himself to anger. That is a common misnomer we have. We think that, that Rishi became angry, he cursed him. Not because of any anger he curses because of the misdeed of the person who commits it. He wants to punish him. Because they had the power to punish. Bhagavan has given them the power to punish. They expect them to do the job. It is like a job which is given to them to establish dharma. So it is not out of anger. We are unnecessarily being told it is out of anger. They have to show anger, isn't it? When you curse somebody, you're not going to smile and say you will become a snake. You cannot do that. So when Agastya cursed Nahusha, he was Devendra, and then he made him fall like a serpent. So you cannot smile and say that. So he became angry. He showed anger. So this is only a Leela again. Yeah.
He's a tool used by Bhagavan as for this Leela. I mean, we can understand.
Correct. That is the correct explanation.
Thank you.
Have one simple question and one another simple question. One is like it's about Tatanka. So in Devi Purana, it's mentioned that in 10 avatar of Mahavishnu, the Tatanka is mentioned there, not Buddha. So that is first question. And second question is, when you say the last avatar Kalki, like
what is that? No, your question is not clear. What is mentioned?
Tatanka.
Your voice breaks. Tatanka for Vishnu.
Yes.
Tatanka for Vishnu.
Yeah, so in Devi Lalitopakhyan it's mentioned that
Tatanka is only for Devi, not for Vishnu. Vishnu's ornament is not called Tatanka, it is called Kundala.
Okay.
Male devatas wear kundalas. Female devatas wear Tatankas.
Okay.
So what was your question?
So the question is in Devi.
What was your question?
In Lalitopakhyan, Brahma, in the chapter where Devi is doing the Vadha of Bhandasura, the 10 nails, from the 10 nails of Devi, Vishnu appears, So first is, you know,
Okay,
the
okay.
Matsya,
Okay,
and
okay.
then the last is the
Okay.
Kali. But before the Kali, it's Krishna, and before Krishna, Vasudeva, and before Vasudeva and Rama, there is a Tatanka mentioned, and not somebody else.
There is what?
So it's a weird avatara mentioned, Tatanka. It's the name of the.
I don't think. Normal 10 avatars are only mentioned. Maybe it has some special connotation. We have to say that.
Okay. And last question, so no, Ron, I'll text you that later. Last question.
Maybe it has a connotation because everywhere there are special connotations in some context. So we have to understand the context before we can go into the details.
Yes. And last question is that the Kalki Avatara when appears, so is it like it will appear in the Nrupa or Yama form with like, so when the Kalki Avatara will appear, Kalki Avatara.
Kalki Avatara,
Yeah, so when it will appear, it will appear in Nrupa form, because most of the time, whenever Mahavishnu appears, it appears in a very, happy and auspicious family, well-versed families, So I think he may appear in the Nrupa family. So
in what family?
The Nrupa Raja or Rajashri family.
Anyway, there are Puranas about Kalki also, where he will appear, in what form he will appear, etc., etc. So we are not going to that. This is not the forum for discussing Kalki Avatara. So we will not go into the detail.
Okay, Shri Guru.
Okay, right. We close for today, and we meet again tomorrow morning at 7 IST Sunday. Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva Sarvatra Govinda Namakirtanam Govinda Govinda Sri Raja Rajeshwari Jaya Jaya.
Thank you, Guruji.